but okay.
Okay, so I welcome you all to the online course on East Caucasian languages organized by the Linguistic Convergence Laboratory of the HSE University, Moscow, Russia. My name is Polina Nasledskova. I am a research assistant in the lab and the moderator of today's session. Today is the 5th lecture in the series of 13, entitled Pronominal Deixis in East Caucasian Stability and Renewals. It will be given by Professor Gilles Authier. Before introducing our speaker, I would like to clarify some organizational issues. Each lecture will be recorded, live streamed on YouTube, and stored there afterwards. The lecture will go uninterrupted, followed by a question period. Those of you who are joining the lecture via Zoom will be muted throughout the session in the interest of the lecturer and sound quality. You may send your questions via the Zoom chat or YouTube live chat. In the end of the talk, I will read selected questions out loud for the speaker to answer them. We apologize in advance that there might not be enough time to address all the questions, but Jill will be able to read them after the talk and hopefully find a way to answer you. It is my pleasure to introduce Gilles Authier, Research Director in topics of languages and philology of the Caucasus at the École pratique des hautes études in Paris, France. Gilles' main research interest is languages of the Caucasus, both in synchrony and diachrony. His works cover a wide range of topics such as phonology, nominal morphology, verbal system, and various contact-induced changes. He has performed extensive fieldwork on a number of undescribed Dagestanian languages of the Lesgic branch, such as Rutul, Kruiz, and Budukh. Gilles is the author of a description of Kruiz, Lesgic language spoken in Azerbaijan, which won a prestigious Emil Benveniste Award. He also wrote a grammar description of Tat language. Apart from Dagestanian languages, Gilles also does research on the languages of the Caucasus from other families such as Tat, Indo-European language, which was already mentioned, and Azerbaijani Turkic language. Today, Gilles will give a lecture on pronominal deixis in East Caucasian, stability and renewals. Gilles, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Okay, so we start a bit earlier than usual. Let me share my screen. I hope that's fine. If there is a problem, just contact me and cut me. Okay, should I start?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay, thank you very much for the Moscow colleagues whom I miss dearly for this invitation. It's a way to keep the links and the bounds alive. I chose to present a short lecture on pronominal deixis in East Caucasian, mainly because it's a topic I'm actually researching myself now. And I have a subtitle, which is Stability and Renewals, because obviously I will not be dealing with everything that is worthy to be said about the topic of deixis and pronouns in East Caucasian. So just to remind you what is meant by deixis, it's usually meant deictic, personal deixis, that is the opposition between deictic centers, the speaker, the addressee, and others, and spatial deixis, which can be monocentric if centered on the speaker, or polycentric if it can be centered on both the speaker, the addressee, and other participants of a scenario, or just distance. Time deixis is sometimes mentioned in typological literature, but temporal deixis in East Caucasian is like in European languages, marked by bound morphemes on verbs and adverbs, and I will not be dealing with it today. So I will basically focus on pronouns like you and this. And this is not to say that personal or spatial deixis is exhausted by these topics, because of course deixis can be marked in various places of the grammar. You have deixis on free words, and I will be dealing with the two main subcategories which are personal pronouns and demonstratives, but also on adverbs, copulars and predicatives, which are present in East Caucasian, but I will not speak about that today. And bound elements like person markers. They are present in at least 2 branches of East Caucasian, Lac and Dargois, but also preverbs and cases in the case of spatial deixis. So basically, I will be speaking today about words corresponding to I, you, or we in English, or this, that, and categories of elevation, which are often marked on these same pronouns, but not on other types of free words or bound elements, which also convey personal or spatial deixis. So the outlines are quite simple. I will have 2 parts. I hope to come to the end of what I want to share with you today. I will present a diachronic approach. That is, you should not expect much in terms of synchronic linguistics in this talk, because I'm personally mainly concerned with diachronic aspect of the study of pronominal deixis. I will actually start with demonstratives and propose some hypotheses, not all of them validated by colleagues or even by myself, a hypothesis of grouping in order to propose some branching further hypotheses based on innovations in the systems of demonstratives in East Caucasian. And in a second part on personal pronouns, and we'll also propose some hypotheses of branching, also based on innovations, which I believe to have found in the various systems. And I will also make a few remarks on replacements, which are often avoidance-based. I will have some remarks on analogy in the systems of personal pronouns, but I will mainly focus on the phenomenon of clusivity. That is the fact that what is rendered in European languages with the first person plural pronoun is very often divided across 2 pronouns in many languages of East Caucasian. I will probably not have time to speak about synchronic systems, as I said. That is very interesting topics of morphology, grammaticalization, morphosyntax, and syntax. But if I have a few minutes, I will share with you a few additional slides. So, East Caucasian demonstrative pronouns are usually present in the same form, whether they are used as adnominals or pronominal demonstratives. There are some exceptions, but they are rare. One is the language Chris, which belongs to the Lesgic branch of East Caucasian, where you have a pronoun, ou, am, or are, which is different from the adnominal demonstrative pronoun, adnominal demonstrative, not pronoun, lu, lam, and la. And actually, you can substantivize the adnominal demonstrative and make it a pronoun, but it's quite rare. The real pronoun is just ou, am. The systems are not uniform across the family, and you have basically 2 typologies. Some languages or branches show simple systems, horizontal systems, so to say, but at least 3 roots are used, like in Chris. You do not have minimal systems with only 2 items, just a binary opposition. I did not find that, at least, or hardly found any instance of such a minimal system. And you have much more complex systems which evince elevational distinctions. And I will start with presenting a horizontal system, which is found in the branch named called Nach. Actually, Nach languages are the various dialects of Chechen and Ingush. Sorry. Sorry, I had thought that I would start 1 hour later. Anyway, so in Nach, you have a so-called horizontal system with only distance or person relation distinguishing 3 items in each language. And as you see, the demonstrative system of Chechen and Ingush, that is proper Nach languages, are obviously related, but quite different from what is found in the other language of this family, which is called Tsovatush or Batsbi, spoken in Georgia. In many respects, more archaic, but also more innovative in other respects. When we look at the demonstrative system of these languages, it's quite obvious that the Nach languages, Chechen and Ingush, have innovated and renewed their system. But it's a horizontal system opposing only proximal versus distal and a medial, which in Nach, that is Chechen and Ingush, is used as the default demonstrative replacing third-person pronouns, while in Batsbi it's the distal demonstrative which is used in this function. To indicate elevation, that is the position of what is pointed at in Nach languages, additional adverbs have to be used, like lachara higher or lachara lower, but they are never, the demonstrative themselves do not indicate the elevation, whether proximal or distal. Horizontal systems are geographically and, I believe, phylogenetically peripheral. And it is well known that peripheral features are often in linguistic families retentions, and sometimes can also be due to external contact. I will not dwell very much on this, but it's quite obvious from the repartition of horizontal systems in East Caucasian that this feature is peripheral. As we have just seen, it is found in Nach, which is probably the first branch to split off from the rest of the family. And I believe that this simplicity found in Nach is an archaism. It's difficult to prove. And there has been some renewal, formal renewal in Chechen and Ingush, but I think that basically that's what we may reconstruct for the first stage of the history of this family. In the Cesic branch or sub-branch of East Caucasian, we find quite diverse across various languages systems and non-transparent complexity, which suggests that this branch has no loss of demonstrative features. We will come back to this. We also find non-transparent complexity in one dialect of Lak called Arakul, a peripheral dialect of Lak. We also find non-transparent complexity suggesting loss of more ancient systems in Botlir, which is likewise a peripheral language belonging to the Avar-Andic branch of the family. And we also find systems which might, but that is less sure, systems which probably have undergone loss of more complex former systems in the southern part of the Lesgic branch of the family, that is, on the one hand, in Sahur and Rutu, that is Western Lesgic, and in Southern Lesgic, that is Kriz and Budur, and also the outlier Udi. So I will obviously not go into the very details of all these systems, because I have to rush a bit, but I will just show you the forms that you can find in these horizontal systems. So you find them mostly in Cesic. Actually, all Cesic languages have systems which are not transparent and do not seem at first sight related to each other. You usually do not find them in Avar-Andic branches, in the Avar-Andic branch or in Lac, but for two exceptions that I just have mentioned, that is Botlir for an Andic language and the dialect of Arakul for Lac, which also have horizontal systems, but non-transparent inventories. For instance, the fact that in the description available for Botlir, you have actually three forms for the distal demonstrative, which probably go back to an elevational system. You do not have horizontal systems in the Dargwa branch. And in the Lesgic branch, you find these horizontal systems only in the southern part geographically of the family, that is in Udi, spoken in Azerbaijan, but also in Kriz, in Rutu, Sahur, and in contrast to these horizontal systems, you find in central Dagestan two groups of languages which show elevational systems. One in the east, which comprises Lac, except for the dialect of Arakul, the whole branch called Dargwa, and Lesgic languages found in the northeastern part of the Lesgic zone, that is the outlier La Archi, and the whole eastern sub-branch of core Lesgic, Tabasaran, Agul, and Lesgian. In Dargwa and Lesgic, elevational roots also serve as cases, I believe, but also copulas and preverbs. And you also find an elevational system in Khinalug, but there the relationship of the markers with other parts of speech is less clear. And you have a second group of elevational systems, which is more compact genetically, which is found in the whole of the Avar-Andic branch, except the peripheral language Botlir, where you have sometimes very large and very transparent systems, probably therefore recent systems. And the roots there are only 3 words. They usually, I believe, do not have internal or external cognates. That is, the demonstrative roots found in Avar-Andic are not found elsewhere in the language on other parts of speech, and are not clearly related with cognates in other branches. So let's look at what you have in a language like Ahuar, in its southern dialect. Data come from Nikita Muravyov. You have here 8 different forms, which are very regular, clearly agglutinative. And as you see, the elevational marker is added can be added to both the proximal and the distal demonstrative. You have even, sorry, you have even more complex systems, for instance, in Hindi, which is also an Andic language, where elevation is found in both the proximal speaker-related demonstrative and the proximal addressee related, but also you have this same binary opposition between a first distal and a second distal. The semantic nuances of these demonstratives are not yet very well understood. Hindi is not fully described yet. But what is important to see is that this system, like the one I've shown before in Ahuar, is extremely regular, and therefore I believe that this system is rather recent. We actually have systems very comparable in all Andic languages as well as in Ava. In Eastern Lesgic and Archi, that is in the Lesgic languages spoken in the northern part of the Lesgic area, elevation is marked only on as subcategories of distal demonstratives, and the forms are quite clearly cognate. There are some problems with the forms found in Lesgian, but if you compare the Agun and Tabasaran forms with Archi, you can reconstruct something like for distal elevation, distal same level elevation in Proto-Lesgic. For distal upper elevation in Proto-Lesgic, one, I believe, has to reconstruct morpheme tre, which is the not intensive ejective lateral, which is found in all branches of the family. I mean, the lateral is found only in Western languages, that is Ava, Andic, and Cesic languages, and it denotes the position on as a case marker. But in Lesgic, it's found both as a case marker and on other parts of speech, including demonstratives, meaning distal and upper or above. And finally, the distal demonstrative denoting a position lower than the deictic center is also, I believe, reconstructible as the marker tre, but intensive in this case, which is also found as a case marker in and also as a copula in the Lesgic branch. But what is difficult with this reconstruction is that if you remember the first example in Misha Daniel's talk last week, Archi does have this case marker as tre, but as a demonstrative, it uses the form gu. And that's a contradiction which suggests that these two forms might not be related. I actually believe that in a way they are related, but maybe there has been some borrowing well, there is a difficulty here to reconstruct Clé as the proto-form for the lower distal elevation marker. When we look at other elevational demonstratives in the eastern part of central Dagestan, it seems nevertheless to me quite clear that all the elevational demonstratives can be reconstructed as the three markers: non-intensive ejective lateral, a T or a D for the distal same level demonstrative, and an intensive ejective lateral for the lower distal demonstrative. This is not a new idea, but what I believe has not been proposed yet is to view as cognates forms not only in Lac and Dagua, but also in Chinaluk, with Otu, Otu, and Oku for Chinaluk, and also the forms that we have seen in Archie. And in the previous slide, I mentioned the fact that the form Gu for the lower distal demonstrative in Archie is a bit strange, because one would expect something closer to what I reconstruct, that is the intensive lateral. I suggest that this demonstrative might have been influenced or even borrowed from Lac, where you have the normal cognate Gua for this lower distal demonstrative. So the Gu Du of Archie might be actually a borrowing. When you compare these series, especially the distal series marked with the elevational feature in Avar Andic, you can see that what can be reconstructed for Avar and Andic languages, that is Hlo, Do, and Ro, do not correspond to the laterals that you find for lower and upper elevation in these languages. That is, Avar Andic languages do have I should actually not have an asterisk on the last on the distal upper elevation marker in Avar. So if we try to reconstruct the elevational distal demonstratives, it seems quite clear that there is a very coherent group consisting of Chinaluk, Lesdik, Lac, and Dagua, which probably have the same system, going back to non-intensive ejective lateral, D for same level distal demonstrative, and intensive ejective lateral for lower distal demonstrative. This system is not found in Césic, and it's not found in Andic and Avar, but both sub-branches, Césic, Andic, and Avar, seem to have another system, which has for upper distal demonstrative a non-ejective lateral, and for the lower distal demonstrative a uvulor re. The same level distal demonstrative is shared with in all branches, basically, even in Nach, I believe. So to sum up my hypothesis, I present here a scenario of how the systems of demonstrative deixis, spatial deixis, has diversified, innovated in the family. I think that the system that we find in Nach, which is quite simple and horizontal, does not need to have been different in the proto-language for the whole family, Proto-East Caucasian. What we know is that, I believe for sure, is that Proto-Dagestanian can be seen as a different branch as opposed to Nach languages, on the basis of at least one innovation, actually probably more than one innovation, but the most important one is the grammaticalization of the markers meaning up and down as spatial cases, meaning on and under. These spatial cases are found in all branches except in Nach. A second double innovation is found in on the one hand, Proto, Lak, Dagwa, Lesgik, and Chinalug, in which the roots for up and down have been used as elevational demonstratives. In Proto-Avar, Andic, and Cesic, two other roots for up and down are used. In the fifth step, Cesic seems to have lost these two, at least the segmentic of these elevational roots, because it's these elevational systems are not found in Cesic, while they are pursued and even elaborated in Proto-Avar and Andic. That's for the Western branch. In the Eastern branch, that is the one which innovated in using the roots for up and down, the same roots used for up and down as spatial cases, but also as demonstratives and probably also as spatial copulas. That's the situation that we still find in Eastern Lesgik, in Archi, in Lak, except Arakul, and in Dagwa, all dialects. But Southern Lesgik and Western Lesgik languages, plus Udi, and also the Arakul dialect of Lak, which are found in the southern part of Eastern Dagestan and Azerbaijan, have lost, and that's the last innovation, have lost elevational demonstratives. And in this case, I would assume that this loss is due to contact with horizontal systems like the ones found in Turkic languages. So that was what I had to say on the diachronic of demonstratives in East Caucasian. I will now pass to East Caucasian personal pronouns, which are characterized by great systemic stability, but numerous renewals in the elements of paradigms, especially with regards to the expression of clusivity. But first, I'd like to show you the first 10 items of the so-called maximum stability list established by Sergei Starostin by comparing a very large number of languages from all linguistic families he has been working on across the world in the Starling project. And as you see in the 10 most stable lexical items that he could establish for this list, you find no less than 3 personal pronouns. And actually the most stable lexical item found by Sergei Starostin across all linguistic families across the world is the pronoun for we. But what does he mean by we? Well, we will elaborate on this. The second most stable is I, and the third most stable personal pronoun is you. So I will look at all these meanings in turn. But first, I'd like to show you what seems to suggest that the systems of personal pronouns in East Caucasian is not only clearly inherited for the most part of the paradigm, but also extremely stable. If you look at this small sample of languages taken from not all, but 4 branches of the East Caucasian family, 2 Avar-Andic languages, 1 Dargwa variety, 3 Lesgic languages, and Chinalug, which is a language but also branch of the family. You see that all these languages share forms for the personal pronouns which look usually quite obviously related, and also this category of clusivity, which opposes an exclusive first-person plural pronoun and an inclusive pronoun distinct from the exclusive pronoun. This is a very partial view, and we will see that things are much more complex when we go into details and look at more languages and more dialects. So let's look to start with at the first person singular pronoun, I, which I think can be reconstructed as Z for Proto-East Caucasian. The reason for taking Z as the proto-form for the whole family is that the form that is found in Nach and Chinalug languages is obviously related to the one found in Lesgic languages, especially if you consider the oblique forms found, very special oblique forms found in Chinalug and Nach, which show metathesis. That is, the root consonant is found after a vowel, both in the dative form of Chinalug and the ergative form of Nach. And the fact that the initial consonant in the nominative in Nach is not voiced probably is analogical with the devoicing in final position of the oblique form. That's how I interpret it, and bridge the gap with the other form Z or Zin in Lesgic languages. So I believe this Z form is conservative, not only, well, basically because this form is found in peripheral languages, that is in the East in Lesgic languages and in the West in Nach languages, with the additional branch Chinalug, which is definitely an important branch for establishing archaisms. What we found in the central region of the family, that is in Avar, Andic, and Cesic languages, like Ahwar, Avar, and Hunzib, but also in Dargwa and in Lak in the oblique form, is, I believe, an innovation. This innovation, which seems to be du or dun, is of unknown origin. We might put forward the hypothesis that this new first-person singular pronoun could be an older demonstrative pronoun. That is, that the original personal pronoun was replaced in order to avoid expressing the first person singular, which is a common way to renew and form new personal pronouns, although they are usually quite stable. For instance, Hinalug has such a first a proximal speaker-related demonstrative, do, close to me. Second person singular personal pronoun, I believe, has its most archaic forms in a larger area than for the first singular personal pronoun. We find it in from Nach to Dargwa, but also in Lesgic languages and in Hinalug, and in the oblique form of Lak. And here the innovation is again in the central part of the family. That's what you have in the Andic forms, in Avar, and in Hunzib. What here probably happened is that a nasal element, which is found, for instance, on the Chris form and probably originates as a topic marker, modified the initial consonant and prompted the emergence of the new form with the initial m. But another explanations could be, again, that this new form, this innovated form in Avar, Andic, and Cesic, might be related to a demonstrative, which is found, for instance, in Lak, where mu, looking very much like the second person of Avar, mun, in Lak means demonstrative close to you. I now pass directly to the second person plural personal pronoun, which can be reconstructed as shui, and which is found almost unchanged in Nach and some Lesgic languages like Rutu, but also in Lak, and even as an archaism in some Andic languages like Ahwar, Ushti. But you have again a central innovation which is centered on Avar with the form nuj, but also on Dargwa with the form nusha in literary Dargwa, and as you see in certain dialects of Dargwa, another form muj seems to have been analogically reshaped by analogy with the singular, which, as you remember, is mun for you singular. So in the Zakatala dialect, you have muj, And that's apparently what also happened in the cäsic form for the second person plural of you, where you have initial M instead of the N, which I believe is older. The N, the origin of this N is quite clear, I believe. That's a marker which is found, it's a number gender marker, which is found both as D or as N, and which is the marker for first and second person plural, which is here used as what Joanna Nichols mentioned as autogender. Now we will pass to probably the most interesting aspect of pronouns in East Caucasian, which is the pronoun or pronouns translated in English as we. And I remind you that this we first person plural pronoun appears in first position of the maximum stability list of Starostin. And the paradox is that East Caucasian languages seem to have quite often innovated in the expression of this we pronoun, as we will see present. So I come back to the table I've shown you, which suggested that overall, various branches of East Caucasian seem to present very uniform, stable pronominal paradigms, including the opposition between two pronouns for we exclusive of the addressee and an inclusive pronoun which includes the addressee, that is I and you or we and you. The reconstruction of these pronouns is quite well established. It's in the first case J, and in the second case Cli, an intensive non-ejective lateral stop. But this table is actually a bit biased because the paradigms I give for Dagwa, for Kris, or for Rutu are actually the paradigms found for just one Dagwa language or one Kris dialect or one Rutul dialect. If you look into the complexity of various Dagwa languages, of Kris dialects, of Rutul dialects, you have a much more complex situation, which suggests many layers and a very complex story of renewals in these paradigms. So we will dwell a bit more on this first person plural pronoun in East Caucasian. And additionally, this clusivity category opposing two pronouns for translating the we pronoun that we have in European languages is totally lost in two branches or sub-branches of East Caucasian, that is Lac and in Cäsic. So clusivity has been altogether lost in quite a number of languages, and as we will see, also dialects. So we will see now that clusivity is actually a recessive feature, but that it is also resilient. What do I mean? I base myself here on more general typological research on exclusive persons, led by Helmbrecht in a publication that I think it's one of the first editions of the Waltz dictionary, in which he explains that these exclusive first persons are likely to be avoided and replaced. That is, if they are avoided, they are altogether lost, or replaced, that is not stable in diachrony. But if these exclusive first-person pronouns, be it singular or plural, are rarely attested in larger open societies, why does clusivity not disappear altogether? Well, in the case of East Caucasian, that may have to do that these languages, for the most part, are spoken by very small communities, that is, societies of intimates. And as also established by Ciso, inclusive forms, in turn, may turn out to play a crucial role in diachronic development, as they have a variety of honorific uses and display syncretisms with other SAP speech act participant person forms. That's what we will now see with examples. So as an introduction to these particular cases, one has to bear in mind that the feature is rather stable, but that its realization of clusivity varies a lot across pronominal sets. So, as I said, clusivity has been totally lost from Casic languages and not lost in any other Andic language. So a very important distinction has to be drawn between actually two sub-branches of the same branch of East Caucasian, if we admit, as I do, that Casic is closest to Avar and Andic branches. The loss of clusivity is not found only in Casic. It is found also in many other languages or dialects, and you have mainly two paths for this loss. Either the generalization of the inclusive as a general first-person plural pronoun, or the generalization of the exclusive as the we pronoun. What we have in Casic is obviously that the exclusive pronoun has been lost, and that the inclusive pronoun is used for both inclusive and non-inclusive first-person plural. That's quite homogeneous across the whole Casic branch, and you can compare with the Andic language Ahuar on the left, which preserves the clusivity. What we have just seen in Casic is the reverse of what we sorry. There is a problem. So I have to go back. Yes. Yeah. Let me share my screen and not look at the results of the sorry. Yeah. I'm really sorry. Probably many people would be more interested with the results of the elections in America. Anyway, Budur has exactly the same phenomenon. That is, the first person plural exclusive has been lost, and the inclusive has been extended to both uses. We also have the same story in one dialect of Rutul, namely Luček Rutul, and you can compare the just one pronoun, we pronoun, ye, in Luček, as opposed to two pronouns in Ifrek Rutul, ji and yi. And again, it is the inclusive which has extended its use to both uses. The second type by which inclusivity can be lost is the extension of the exclusive. That's what we have in Lac, where you see that there is no cognate for the inclusive pronoun, but just one first person plural pronoun, which is related to the exclusive form. The vowel may be analogical of the second person plural. The same extension of the exclusive is found in lesbic languages, which have lots of contact with non-lesbic, non-East Caucasian languages, namely Tsahur and Lesbian. Again, the inclusive pronoun has been lost. There is just the plural pronoun left, which is the older exclusive. It is also found in two other Rutul dialects. We have seen first that the westernmost Rutul dialect, Ifrek, has the inherited situation with two different pronouns for first person exclusive and the inclusive ji and yi. Middle Rutul, so to say Luček, which is found, which is spoken.
I'm terribly sorry, just one small moment. I think that we are losing your sound from time to time. Could you lean a little back forward to the mic so that we hear you better, okay?
Yeah, okay, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I hope you can at least follow with the slides. But,
sure, but it would be better if you lean a little bit forward.
Okay, good. So middle Rutul, as we have seen, has lost the first person exclusive and generalized the inclusive, while two so-called northern Rutul dialects, Shinaz and Nukhrek, have instead generalized the exclusive pronoun and lost the inclusive. Finally, the extension of the exclusive or inclusive pronoun as two different ways, two different paths to lose the clusivity feature, both are found in various Dargwa dialects. You have two southernmost Dargwa dialects, Kaitak and Chirag, which preserve the old situation, the inherited situation, which reconstructs both for Proto-Dargwa and Proto-East Caucasian with two different pronouns for the we pronoun of European languages, as you see. But you have, in the case of Akusha Dargwa, which is one of the northernmost Dargwa dialect, it is the exclusive which has been generalized, while in the central Dargwa dialect, Subni, it is the inclusive which has been generalized. And I skip the interesting analogy that you find on the second person plural in these two dialects. What is the reason for extending the exclusive or the inclusive in both uses of the pronoun in Dargwa? It might be an aerial feature linking Lac and northern Dargwa, maybe influenced by contact with Turkic, namely Kumyk language for both languages. And the fact that southernmost dialects, Chirag and Kaitak, retain inclusivity might have to do with the fact that these Dargwa languages or dialects are in contact with Tabasaran and Agul, which do have the Clusivity feature. Okay. In some cases, and that's probably even more interesting, Clusivity has been first lost and then renewed. That's, I believe, what happened in Nach, where the exclusive form has not left any cognate in the actual languages, either in Chechen or Ingush or in Batsbi. But the inclusive form, instead of being generalized and used for both the exclusive and inclusive use of the we pronoun, is found in today's Nach languages only as an exclusive, which is quite strange. And the only viable explanation, I believe, is that the Y is a new inclusive form, has its way into the language at an early stage, that is in proto-Nach, in the proto-language of both Chechen, Ingush, and Tsovatush Batsbi, from another, actually non-East Caucasian language. And it cannot be from Ossetic, which has the first person plural pronoun mar, but I suggest that this vai pronoun found in Nach for the inclusive comes actually from Old Persian, where we have the form vayam. So an Indo-European borrowing into a Nach, proto-Nach language, which might suggest quite intense contact with Indo-Iranian people, either in the north or in the south of the Caucasus. And as for Old Persian, we know that it has been used at least as an administrative language as far as Kerch on the Azov Sea. This is an Old Persian inscription containing the name Darius from 2,500 years ago. It has been recently published, I think just 1 year ago, and a student of mine suggested to show this clear proof of the possibility of early contact between an older Indo-European dialect, Old Persian, and at least the ancestor of Nach languages. So the idea of having a pronoun being borrowed is not new. We know from English that pronouns can be borrowed given appropriate social circumstances, to quote Thomason and Everett. And of course, that does not mean that this is something frequent, because as we know, pronouns do definitely belong to the core system of basic vocabulary, and that's why I started with showing this maximal stability list of Starostin. But in the case of the we pronoun, which appears cross-linguistically, according to Sergei Starostin, to be the most stable of all lexical items, it seems that in at least one case in East Caucasian, it has been borrowed from a non-East Caucasian language. Another interesting case is something which seems to be quite rare, but has to do with what Michael Ciso calls clusivity as honorific reference phenomenon, is what we find in one Cris dialect. The Cris dialect that I have shown up to now was Cris proper, which retains the two first-person plural pronouns, exclusive and inclusive, jin and yin. But one dialect, Cris, has not lost any of these two pronouns, but does not use anymore the original second-person plural pronoun, which was vin, and actually it should not be. Sorry. Yeah, it is found in Cris proper, but it's not found anymore in Alic Cris. And you have the same pronoun used for both second-person plural and for the inclusive, which I think is quite rare also, although it is semantically quite easy to understand. Another interesting case is the renewal of clusivity in Mukhad Rutul. That is the best documented Rutul dialect. We have seen that across Rutul dialects, you can have either the inherited situation in Ikhrek, J and Yi, or a generalization of the exclusive in Shinaz and Mukhrek with J, or the generalization of the inclusive in Luchek. But you also have further elaboration in the dialect of Mukhad, where obviously the exclusive pronoun was first lost, then the inclusive pronoun was generalized, and a new inclusive pronoun was formed as a dvandva, that is by combining and making a compound, a double pronoun ye, va, to express you and me as a bound form. And this is not the whole story of Rutul dialects, because what we find in Southern Rutul, which can be considered as a distinct language from all the dialects that we have seen, which are spoken in Dagestan. Southern Rutul is spoken nowadays mostly in Azerbaijan and in one village of southern Dagestan, is that the inclusive pronoun was extended to not only first person plural, but also as the singular first person, that is I. And Proto-Southern Rutul appears to have lost the inherited Z form for the pronoun I. But afterwards, both dialects making up the Southern Rutul group have independently innovated and built new first-person plural pronouns, both exclusive and inclusive, from this nowadays exclusively singular pronoun yi, that is Yokumbi and Yokumbi Yinevi in Chnov, and Yanur and Yokner in Borj. So as you see, the clusivity feature is both very stable structurally and very unstable formally. And especially when one looks closer at various singular dialects. Phrenologue gives us a hint at how this sort of shift from the plural pronouns into the singular system may happen. What we see in Phrenologue is that the paradigm of the first person singular pronoun is very irregular. You have the inherited alternation between the nominative and the dative with sie and as, which, as I've shown, is found mutatis mutandis also in nach. But also you have a very strange ergative form hier. And this form of the ergative first person singular pronoun, I believe, is best understood as a borrowing from the plural paradigm. That is, in order to avoid the use of the first person singular pronoun in agent function, in order to soften the egoistic nuance of saying I'm going to act on someone or something, you out of politeness use the plural pronoun in basically almost the same form. It is exactly what happened, I believe, also in Baudelaire, where the first person singular paradigm is also highly irregular, because you see that the form for the ergative ishkur has nothing to do with the nominative or oblique cases. And the only explanation for this is that this ishkur form is also a borrowing from the plural paradigm, where you see that the ishi exclusive pronoun, which is found all over across the whole Andic sub-branch, has been used in a special case form. Actually, the suffix kur is an ablative suffix in Baudelaire to express a more polite form of the ergative first person singular, which I believe is quite transparent. I'm actually surprised that this has not been mentioned in the literature, as far as I know. Finally, I'd like to show a part of the paradigm which I find very interesting, which is Archie, in which the system of the pronouns is structurally exactly the same as in the most languages which still have the clusivity opposition. But the two first-person plural pronoun, or the first-person plural exclusive and the inclusive pronoun, nen and nentu, have obviously nothing to do, actually in the nominative forms, at least, with what is reconstructed from by comparison with of various branches and languages of East Caucasian. Nen definitely does not come from J, and nentu, which is definitely derived from nen, and it also has no resemblance with the inherited inclusive. So what happens? I believe, apart from the fact that nentu is clearly more recent and reshaped on the basis of the exclusive pronoun, I believe that nen shares with other pronouns of the nominative paradigm in Archie the final n, which is found in the first singular, in the second singular, and in the second plural forms, zon, un, and juen. And the onset of this pronoun, I believe, comes from contact with the main contact language of Archie, at least in recent times, which is Avar, in which we have seen that an autogender marker N is found in the first person plural and second person plural. And this also, I suggested, is an innovation not found only in Avar, but also in Dargwa languages. So I believe that Nen is basically the made of two building blocks, an N, which means plural speech act participant with, I mean, the autogender number of plural speech act participant, and just the ending shared with all other pronouns in the nominative in Archie. So to sum up all these very different cases of clusivity renewal, we have seen that in Nach, the clusivity feature probably was first lost, then underwent a shift and was renewed by borrowing from a non-East Caucasian language. Sometimes clusivity is not lost, but other types of syncretism can be found, like in alic-cris. Renewal of clusivity can happen through compounds like we and you, like in Mochad Ruto, or by syncretism between the first person singular and the first person plural, etc. Or you can have total replacement and total renewal, like in Archie. I guess I do not have much more time to show you some interesting aspects of pronouns, and I believe and I hope that you will have some questions about the hypothesis I have put forward in this talk. But I would just, in case people believe that I underestimate the value and interest of other aspects of the grammar of pronouns in East Caucasian, I will just show you a few topics which I believe should prompt more students to research this domain of the grammar. First, syntax or morphosyntax. It is well known that speech act participant pronouns very often do not, in ergative languages, share ergative case marking. This is something that is found in many languages across East Caucasian. One clear example is Cris, in which you have the same form for personal pronouns for all syntactic functions, intransitive subject, patient of transitive verbs, and agent of transitive verbs. But also in Cris, in a remote subpart of the grammar, you even have something which can be described as accusative alignment, because the same first person pronouns, only the first person pronouns, can have a shorter form, criticized as not zin but zi, or ji for the plural, only in A or S function, but never in P function, which is clearly accusative alignment. You can see more details in my grammar of Cris of this phenomenon. This sort of split ergative marking can be both found in the singular or in the plural. That's how what you can see in the comparison between two languages, Tsez and Bagvala. In Tsez, you see that the same form is used for nominative and ergative in the singular, whereas in Bagvala, it is the plural pronouns which have an indistinct form for both cases, whereas the singular is distinguishing both cases. Finally, or almost finally, I'd like to just say a word on Archie, but I believe further lectures will say much more on this fascinating language. The Archie paradigm of pronouns is fascinating in many respects. I do not have time to describe everything that is interesting, but I will start with the genitive forms of the pronouns. Not all pronouns, but the all first-person pronouns, that is I and we, agree in gender with the genitive head, which is actually quite trivial. That's exactly what you have in the possessive pronouns agreeing with the head, for instance, in Latin, meus, mea, meum. What is strange is why should we not have the same agreement in the second person? You see, you have just one form, wit and wish, synchronically in Archie. More exotic is the fact that the dative agrees in gender with the nominative argument of the clause. And again, why should we have this agreement with the constituent on with the nominative constituent on the dative personal pronouns, except in the second person, where we have was, wedge, which do not agree with the nominative argument of the clause. And last but not least, only in the first-person inclusive pronoun, you have a very rare cross-linguistically phenomenon where the ergative form of this pronoun, inclusive first-person plural pronoun, agrees in gender with the nominative. And all other personal pronouns have only one form, zari, un, nen, and juen, whereas this inclusive pronoun does have agreement when in the ergative with the nominative argument of the clause. And I will almost end with, I will skip this slide to give more place to questions. I'd like just to show you something that we found in my seminar with my students and a native speaker of Tsugni Darwa. We realized by comparing sentences like I give him my daughter, or you give him your daughter, that the verb form here agrees with the nominative argument, but when you switch the recipient, the pronoun marking, referring to the recipient from a third person to a first or second person, that is when you say, I give you my daughter, or you give me your daughter, then the agreement with the nominative argument, which is the same, dila rursi or ela rursi, daughter, is blocked. That is, you do not, in that case, mark the verb form with the prefix ru, referring to the nominative argument. And I believe that's something that has never been mentioned anywhere, and that's pure syntax, of course. So I think it's time to stop this very well. Let's stop, and I don't know how I now can receive questions. Sorry.
Okay, thank you very much for your talk. I need to share my screen so that you can see, and the audience can see the questions. Could you please stop sharing your screen?
Oh, sorry. Well, I don't see where it is. Oh, so IT. Yeah, okay, good.
Just a moment. Can you see the screen?
Yeah.
Yeah, so here are the questions. You can ask them.
No, I just see Polina Naslietkova started sharing her screen.
So it.
I don't see a screen. I see something black.
I think it should.
Yeah,
like
good. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's all the questions. So do I have to pick?
I think that you can
like picks for me or what?
So you can ask them, answer them one by one, just like it's here on the screen.
Okay, so I'm not sure I have answers to all questions. Okay, how many questions are they? Because if there are many, I probably should pick.
No, there aren't so many, but there are some in the chat that I haven't copied here because they arrived after the end of the lecture. But the questions that you won't be able to ask now because of the time.
Okay, non-transparent complexity means that you have more forms than functions apparently. That's how I would briefly define this non-transparency. Bottlier is peripheral. Well, probably because it's the Andic language which had most external contact. I don't know at which historical level, but I cannot elaborate on that. I'm not a specialist of this language. Yeah, I think it has to do with the fact that it is spoken in a rather accessible area if compared with other Andic languages. That's purely geographic in this case. I don't know about elevational demonstratives in place names. Okay, the stability list of Starostin, people should ask Starostin. Yeah, I do not have much to say about Ossetic, but of course, Proto-Ossetic might have retained the Vayam form, which I believe is at the origin of the Nach borrowing. I don't know about old Iranic loanwords in Nach. I think that's a job for a specialist of Chechen. What is the function of the ablative in Bottlier? Well, ablative, ablative is one of the recognized sources for ergative markers. Yves Clarke has written on that, I believe, in one of the Greenberg volumes. So yeah, that's my only explanation. What gender is indicated by the autogender marker in N in Archie? I'm not saying that it's the autogender, this autogender originates in Archie. I think this N is directly borrowed from Avar, as it was maybe borrowed in Dargwa, in Proto-Dargwa, from the same innovative dialect of Proto-Avar. I'm sorry, but I cannot. You have to roll the because I have to see the other questions.
Yeah, but there are like some notes, and also our time is up, so I think that we should stop now. Yes, and thank you all who came to listen and who asked questions, and the rest of the questions that appeared in chat after the end of the talk will be answered afterward.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and see you next week.
So